Um, I'm a graduate student at the School of Education. I work with Roy P. And my goal for today's presentation really is to try to give a super quick bird's eye view of some of the research we have been doing at the School of at the GSC, really trying to understand what we know and what we do not know about VR and virtual learning environments. This is kind of how we kind of organized the entire spectrum of virtual learning environments. Again, we put this against two axes of perceptual immersion on the top and then interactivity on the left. And really, we wanted to zone on to immersive VR in headsets, really trying to understand what were the educational merits of immersive VR in headsets. But in order to do that, we thought it would be very important to lay it out in context of the broader spectrum of virtual learning environments like desktop-based VR simulations, games, mobile VR that is accessed through smartphones, because all of these have been extensively studied and extensively used in educational contexts over the last few decades. And it was really important for us to locate immersive headset VR in context of these other technologies. So the first one is immersive VR. And when I say immersive VR, I'm talking about 6 degrees of freedom. And the very first kind of high-level finding we had is most VR experiences in education, looking at K-12 and higher ed across the world, most of these VR experiences accessed in real world environments, and most of the studies done have been done on off-the-shelf consumer products. We really found that, the findings on immersive VR delivered through head-mounted displays shows the findings are very conflicting. We think that these conflicting results may be related to the fact that almost all research involving VR and education has featured learning content which learning scientists are using and it's usually existing learning content that is being used that has not been largely designed by educators, or alternatively features content built by educators but does not really have the budget or VR expertise to build content which exploits the unique experiential potentialities of VR. So we think that there is certainly a disconnect between two schools that may be trying to ask very similar questions here. Certainly still very interesting findings on the other side of virtual learning environments. And I'm thinking of these moves and these massive kind of online multiplayer, sometimes interactive virtual simulations that are not accessed on a headset, but rather on a desktop, on a laptop, on a computer. And VR certainly seems to be triggering intrinsic motivation, engagement, joy. It improves confidence and self-efficacy levels. And this is largely because most of these studies are very deeply rooted in curriculum design, and it has been just critical in the success of these programs and these studies. The integration of the learning science theory in a lot of these papers is what really pushes the technology beyond the initial wow factor and really allows you to demonstrate learning outcomes that are not due to the glamour or the novelty or the newness of the technology, or as Morgan Ames calls it, the charisma of the new technology, but it is largely due to underlying and very fundamental integrations of learning science theory. The final category was mobile VR, and this one is very interesting because the research is just not evolved here. Studies are not very rigorous. We were unable to find too many research papers that really talked about mobile VR deployed in real world learning environments and really studied the educational outcomes of these technologies. But mobile VR has certainly received a lot of media attention. It has a lot of hype around it, especially in the early days of Google Cardboard and other kind of accessible and affordable quote unquote VR devices. By far, this is the most affordable and accessible form of head-mounted display rendered VR today. Almost 60 to 70% of K-12 institutions in the United States today have used mobile VR. A lot of papers have shown that these devices cause motion sickness. If used for long periods, they can be gimmicky in the sense that there is overheating problems. There are just issues with the infrastructure of integrating these sorts of technologies in the classroom. And we think it's really important to be also asking and studying these questions alongside the learning outcomes that. So just to summarize, what we're looking at in our lab and through my dissertation research too right now is really trying to develop an entire VR curriculum. We want to do more long-term studies with immersive headset VR. So 6DoF, kind of the top of the range VR, as these devices also become more consumer affordable, with devices like the Oculus Quest coming in the last year. There's been a huge adoption of Quests in schools across the nation and also across the world. My goal through my research is to unpack these features of the experience that differentiate between having an effect on belief versus having an effect on behavior.